Once in a generation, greatness is born. Something that speaks to the soul, makes your heart race.
No, stop! I'm trying to be dramatic. Go back to the montage.
And in a world where everything feels numb and soulless, a car like the Toyota Supra reminds you of what really matters. Family.
Now that introduction was so cheesy, but if you're still with me and you got that reference, you probably already know why the Toyota Supra is so significant. But to understand this one a little bit better, first we gotta go back in time.
Yeah, look, all of my wins going crazy. I gotta brag on myself, I amaze me. I know I'm got something that can phase me. I'm too dope like I'm back in the 80s. Okay, call me and I'm gon' slide. Pull up with me for a hell of a ride. You need a couple wins, they ain't doing it right. Hit up my line, we gon' turn up the night. I got a lot of wins on my dinner plate. Ain't coming down, gotta levitate. I know my next win is the best one.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that.
The Toyota Supra first came out in 1978, but it traces its lineage back to the Toyota 2000 GT that came out in 1967. And that car was widely considered as Toyota's first real sports car. And they did make sporty cars before that, but those cars were kind of cheap thrills cars. And to compete with the serious European automakers at that time, Toyota needed a real six-cylinder sports car. So the 2000 GT really helped the world see Japanese automakers and Toyota in a different light. It really helped put Toyota on the map as a legitimate performance car maker. Because before that time, Japanese automakers were really known for economy cars, cars that were meant to be affordable and cheap and reliable. But finally, they had something that was sexy and fast. And you can really see how the style of the 2000 GT was influenced by the iconic Jaguar E-Type. Now, it wasn't just pretty. It was also really fast. It had an excellent powertrain and amazing engineering, so it could really stand up to the best sports cars of the time, stuff like the Porsche 911. And if you consider that the 911 kind of sets the benchmark for sports cars, that is a huge accomplishment for Toyota. And when the 2000 GT came out, it was winning races and setting records before it was even publicly available. And that was really, really impressive. Of course, it was also used in a James Bond movie. Sean Connery drove one in You Only Live Twice. And actually in that movie, you'll notice that he's driving a convertible. And that's because Toyota had to specially make that convertible for the movie because Sean Connery was just too tall to fit in the coupe. So that's kind of a fun fact. And Daniel Craig also said that the 2000 GT was his favorite Bond car of all time. And that's really amazing considering how many iconic Aston Martins there were. So that alone should tell you how special the 2000 GT was. Now, legend has it that Toyota only made 337 2000 GTs, and they didn't even make a profit on them because they were so expensive to produce. So these days, those 2000 GTs are extremely rare and collectible and can sell at auction for upwards of $1 million.
Nice car. What's the retail on one of those?
More than you can afford, pal.
Fast forward to 1978. That's when the Supra name was first applied, and it was built all the way up to 2002. So I'm going to skip over a lot of the time when it was the Celica Supra and land on the one that you're probably imagining when you hear the word Supra. And that's the 4th generation model, made famous by the movie Fast and Furious. So while that first Supra came out in the early 90s, it was really propelled into the mainstream by Fast and Furious in the early 2000s. That movie is just so iconic, and that's the car that Paul Walker was driving through the majority of that movie. It was in a whole bunch of iconic scenes, like the one where he's racing Vin Diesel against the train. It's his 10-second car, and it's that kind of pop culture relevance that makes it obvious why this Supra is so special. So the Supra I'm driving today is the 5th generation one that made a comeback for the 2019-2020 model year. And because it's no longer a viable business model to lose money on sports cars, Toyota partnered with BMW to make this Supra. So it's built alongside the Z4 in Austria, and I think that's really cool. Some people were up in arms about it, but if you know anything about BMW, you know that they know how to do sports cars. So I think this was actually a really great deal for Toyota. BMW is known to have sports cars with perfect 50-50 weight distribution. And so this Supra also has that magical number that helps it feel so balanced and just incredible through the corners. So just like all the Supras before it, this one is also a front engine, inline six, rear wheel drive with a manual transmission. This one's a 6-speed manual. First of all, I love using this 6-speed manual. It is very easy to use, very rewarding to use. The clutch is great, and the whole system just comes together so incredibly nicely. This one is powered by a 3-liter turbocharged inline six. It has 382 horsepower and 368 pound-feet of torque. And on paper, that doesn't sound like a lot, considering that we're in the age of like 1,000 horsepower EVs. But I can tell you in practice that this Supra is way quicker than it needs to be. It feels like the perfect amount of speed because it's very manageable and very exciting. So you can drive this car very hard without worrying too much that it's going to kill you. I find it very manageable. The other nice thing about it is that you could totally daily drive this. Like, I would feel very, very comfortable daily driving this because it has adaptive dampers. And so in comfort mode, it's perfectly fine, very comfortable, not too harsh. If you want to spice things up a little bit, you can flip it into sports mode, and it just feels incredible in the corners. Another highlight is the steering. So first of all, it feels very responsive and very direct. You don't get sports cars with this kind of feeling anymore. And so I feel like this whole package just comes together so cohesively. And I think if you're used to any kind of other sports car, you will be very happy with this because it has what I like to consider that sports car special sauce. It just feels really special when you drive it because it is so engaging. You know, when you're bombing through corners and back roads, the suspension is a little bit softer than you might expect in a sports car, but I honestly think it makes it more fun because it allows the back end to like kind of slide out just a little bit before the safety systems rein you in. And so I was really surprised by how playful this Supra is. I was kind of expecting to get in this and it would be a very serious sports car, but I'm really relieved that it is actually so much fun and so playful. My other favorite thing about this Supra is the price. So the one I'm driving is the premium model. So it's a top of the line model and has a paint upgrade. So you can get it for just over 70 grand before destination. Guys, that is a great deal considering what this Supra is. I think that's a great deal for a sports car, and I can guarantee you that those prices are only going to go up. And because this is such a rare type of vehicles, they just don't make sports cars like this. I really feel that if you don't get a Supra in this generation, you might not be able to get one in the future. Yet another thing I love about this Supra is how stunningly cool looking it is. This has got to be one of the best looking sports cars you can buy for the money right now. I think it looks much more expensive than it actually is, and that's actually a really big theme with this Supra in general. It definitely hits way above its price range. I think compared to the other sports cars in this class, this might be one of my favorite ones because it's just so well rounded as a sports car. I think it checks all the sports car boxes really, really well. And honestly, I gave it bonus points because I feel so comfortable daily driving it. I absolutely love this thing. And if I had any complaints about this Supra, number one, I'm not a huge fan of this infotainment system. It's a BMW system that's a little bit finicky to use. The other thing I don't really love is all the fake vents all over the outside. So it's just a personal pet peeve of mine when there are no functional vents on a sports car because that means they don't have a purpose. And then I wish it was a little bit louder. I just want a big rowdy exhaust, and this one's just a little bit too quiet. The The word Supra comes from the Latin prefix meaning to surpass or go beyond. And that is so fitting for this Toyota Supra because it goes above and beyond in so many different ways. I truly believe that this is going to become a collectible one day. Maybe not a $1 million 2000 GT-like collectible, but it has all the elements. It is beautifully designed, it has historical and pop culture relevance, and it has style and performance that punch above its price. Most importantly, it is an absolute joy to drive, and it's not unobtainably expensive right now. So if you're a driving enthusiast who loves sports cars, you gotta get on this Supra before it's too late.